Welcome to Chapter 15 with segolate nouns. These are nouns that basically have accented the R1 and then had a different noun pattern than what we're used to seeing like davar. The big trick here is to figure out the proto-forms for these, and then the rest of the steps are actually very similar. Proto, add the box, and then run rules of syllables, but finding that proto-form is going to be the trick for most of the segolates. We're going to find a proto-form something like this, malch, and this would be from melech, which is what we call an A. This is another important designation. That letter is going to tell you what vowel goes under the R1. So these are nouns that originally had one vowel, and that's reflected in that proto-form, so we have to figure that out and kind of know that that's how these are going to function in the proto. The other trick that we have to talk about is when we get into plural segolate nouns, in this case. So when we get into plural segolate nouns, we have to look at different vowel patterns. So for instance, if you look at this word here, that looks an awful lot like, oh, sorry, not that one. That's the pattern we use, is the davar pattern. This word here is a segolate noun, melech, but if we're trying to say kings, plural, it actually goes melachim. And that looks an awful lot like devarim versus malchim. We don't get that. Okay, so we don't get that as our plural absolute. What we get is melachim. So what we end up with in these plural segolates is that sometimes they'll follow the davar pattern, other times they follow the segolate pattern with one vowel similar to that one. This little chart here kind of tells you which one is which. So if we go plural absolute, we're going with the davar pattern. Plural construct, we're going with the segolate pattern. 1CS through 1CP, we're going with the davar pattern. 2MP to 3FP, we're going with the segolate pattern. So when we get into plural segolates, we've got to figure out which pattern we're going to use. So let's work a couple of these. If we can get that proto down, then we're going to be in good shape. Let me bounce to my smaller pen here. And let's go with step one. So we immediately look at a plural construct. So we're going to have to decide, are we going with the davar pattern or the segolate pattern? If you remember from the chart we just looked at, the plural construct is actually going to use the segolate pattern. This is an I-class segolate, so we're going to go with that I in the R1. So we have big, there you go, as our proto form. Step two, we're going to add our box, and in this case our plural construct is the sere yod with the makef. There is no accent on that box. Remember, the accent has shifted to the next word. Okay, and don't forget your other vowels. And in step three, we're going to come back and run the rules of syllables. And in this case, we would divide syllables there. We've got a closed unaccented syllable requires short, carry the silent schwa down, and we have the hierarch yod there, so we have big day. Now, you may not have caught this. Some of you may have tried to put a dagesh lene right there in that dalet, because it is a bigad kafat letter preceded by the absence of sound. However, we don't typically see that dagesh lene in an R3 letter, so don't try to put that in there. If you did, I know why you're thinking that direction, but don't try to put that in there. So that's the end of that one. Let's look at another one. Here's our masculine plural absolute of safer, a book. Again, we're looking at a plural. How about that? However, this time we're looking at an absolute, which is going to take us to the Vowel pattern. So as we get to our proto, we're just going to go with the Vowel pattern like that, as if we had just as if we had davar written in here. Okay, but we don't. We have safer, but we're going to use the same vowel pattern. Okay. In this case, our I class is really kind of irrelevant, though that's going to be pretty indicative for us that we're looking at a seglet. Carry this down. Let's add our box, this time masculine plural absolute with the accent right there. Vowels the same. And then step 3, we're going to run the rules of syllables. I'm going to write the accent in just to see it. Divide, divide. Open pretonic requires long. Originally open propretonic reduces the original short vowel to a vocal schwa. So we are left with sepharim on this one. Okay. And the final one that we want to work here is going to be the Threefp on a plural noun. So I've chosen all plurals. You may have noticed that, so that we are required to decide which proto-form to use. This time we're looking at a Threefp. If you remember, we go absolute this way, construct this way, 1CS through 1CP this way, 2MP through 3FP. We're going to use seglet pattern. Okay, so there's 3FP. Sorry, this is the one we're looking at right here. So we are going to use the seglet proto pattern. Let me erase all these little pieces. Very good. And let's rock and roll. So seglet pattern is going to be here. All right. Next, this I tells us we're going to use a hiric in that R1. Okay. Next, we're going to keep rolling with the proto. Let's add the box. This time we have a hen. This is one of our heavy endings, so it's going to pull the accent down here. Okay. Step 3, we're going to just rewrite everything. Actually, let me take that out. Good. A hen. Doing, doing, doing. Again, I'm going to write the accent in just for my help, though this would be implied on the real word. If we divide the syllables here, don't change the box. We would divide right there. That leaves us then with a closed, unaccented syllable requires short, and it is going to stay the same. So we would have big day hen, or big day hen right here. Okay. So I think that's good on those. Again, the key is the discovering the proto, deciding which proto to use in the plural forms. In the singulars, we're always going to use the seglet pattern. So let me know what questions you have on those.